Mexico is just a beautiful country to live in. Previously, before the pandemic, I owned a brick and mortar yoga studio. I worked 70, 80 hours a week. That was like what I did. It was a nonstop, constant rat race. I love DC, but it gets to the point where it's like, I can't keep doing this. The 70, 80 hour work week is a lot. When you really add it up and you're like, is it worth it? As long as I have Wi-Fi and a computer, I'm fine. Now that everything's transitioned online and I live in Mexico, I actually work a fraction of those hours and I enjoy like the quality of life of living. I don't stress as much about working and it's a little bit more liberating. The media has portrayed Mexico and I think and Mexicans in a certain way that is completely not true. So as Americans, we're fearful of coming here other than like really tourist areas. So when you get here, you're like, wait a minute, what is this? The food, the people, the culture. There's so much beauty in Mexico and I wanted to just explore that more. This is better, or better for, I feel like people my age, like millennials or even the younger generation. It's a better quality of life, yeah.
My name is Carla Camposano. I work in the film industry and I have a photo studio. I was actually living in Canada until pretty much December last year. And when I came back, all of a sudden I find myself surrounded by foreigners everywhere I go. It's like pretty much every taco place or every nightclub I go, I can hear everybody around me speaking English. So it's, you know, it's different than when I left. Not just Americans, but there's a lot of digital nomads or people that are just working home office. Some people that I've met that they don't even tell their companies that they're here, but since they are, you know, a 3, 4, 5 hour flight away, if anything comes up, they just take a flight back home.
Sí, hoy en día sí he visto más extranjeros que generalmente antes de la pandemia veía. Sí, también tengo varios clientes de diferentes países que sí me dicen, no, es que su tortilla está buena, por eso la compro aquí.
Chad Cloward, American with actually have Mexican residency now. I'm a real estate broker in Arizona. You know, the magic of being able to do things digitally now compared to 10 years ago where you really had to be there in an office. So now with doing property management, I can literally do it probably anywhere in the world as long as I have a connection. I do it mostly from my phone, Airbnb, managed properties. So even though I've traveled the world, I've just fallen in love with Mexico. And I just always found the people so warm and kind. And obviously, you know, the expense and the way they treat you, very different than everybody knows the borders in Cancun and Tijuana, and that's not Mexico. Yeah, what I see going on in the US right now, honestly, is just sad to me. I see it with like people like, well, we can't get employees and people won't work as hard. And it's like, well, because they want a quality of life. It's not because they don't want to do things. But yeah, if they can work remote, if they can do something else instead of going into that corporation and sitting in that cubicle. And I decided I'm never going to have that type of life. I've always done things so I could have some freedom, is what I call it. Everybody says, oh, I want to do that. And I want to travel like that. I want to see those places. And the main advice I give to anybody that wants to do it is like, do it. Just, you know, make the plan and do it.
I think the migration of a lot of foreigners moving to Mexico from different countries has increased the cost of living in specific areas. My name is Mariana Lang. I run Mexico Relocation Guide. Mexico Relocation Guide is a website dedicated to teaching people how to move to Mexico the right way. For example, how to get your residency visa, how to bring your pets into Mexico, what types of rentals should you look out for, right? Over the recent years, the demand for Mexico Relocation Guide has gone up tenfold. And I think the reason of that is, if the pandemic has taught us anything, it's that tomorrow's not guaranteed. You know, a lot of people in the United States and Canada, the culture is just basically living to work. And a lot of people have always had a dream of, you know, maybe exploring more of the world. So a lot of people are starting to realize that they can have a better life for less in Mexico. If you don't know any Spanish whatsoever, it's obviously going to be harder. It's not rocket science, right? Thousands of people move to Mexico every year. But a lot of people do it the wrong way, and then they end up learning the hard way that they've lost time, they've lost money, they get frustrated because things don't work exactly the same way they're used to.
I hear a lot of people complaining about rents. I'm actually looking to rent an apartment in pretty much the same area that I live in right now, like more towards Condesa and Roma, and prices have been going like really high. Yeah, because they know that they can, since there's a lot of people, a lot of foreigners, they can go a little higher on prices.
Hola, soy Laura Zazueta González, soy presidenta de AMPI Ciudad de México por el año 2022. Podríamos decir que la oferta y demanda que se generó por la pandemia y ahora la llegada de los extranjeros lo que hace es que la oferta y demanda cambió. A lo mejor eso se refiere en cuanto a la afectación, porque sí vemos mucho extranjero, tenemos una alta demanda de extranjeros que nos solicitan arrendamientos. Y creo yo que por el tipo de cambio que traen ellos y al llegar a México les conviene y les es muy conveniente el departamento, el inmueble que buscan y que cumple finalmente, y más con el home office que se vino a raíz de la pandemia, ¿no?
So I remember seeing a graffiti that somebody made that was, welcome gringo, we love you, we love your money, or something like that.
¿Cuánto cuesta una casa? ¿Cuánto se renta? Pues lo que paga el mercado, ¿no? Si el mercado ahorita está orillando por el ingreso de extranjeros, pues es lo que está determinando incluso el mercado. Yo considero que lo veo excelente. A nivel económico, pues es muy bueno para el sector y para el país.
It's going to bring some benefits one way or another. So it's, you know, income that is coming into the country from outside of the country. Also, I think there's a lot of people from a lot of different cultures and countries and etc. And I think that makes a society richer.
My name is Greg Lance, kind of owner-operator of Goy's Burgers. And we basically do burgers, fries, and shakes, all plant-based. And we're expanding through Mexico right now.
Who's your customer base?
So a lot of people from the neighborhood, definitely a lot of expats, but also the locals that live here that kind of have the bohemian vibe going on. I've been here about 5.5 years, and definitely it's increased a lot. Before the pandemic, it was slowly increasing, but then once the pandemic hit, it really took off. I think it's fantastic, because that was really one of my big complaints when I arrived here, was for being such a large, what should be a metropolitan, diverse city, it never felt like there was that much diversity. And right now I can go get a vegan meal. You know, there's 5 different restaurants within 3 blocks. It's very diverse. I can get, everything I need. I've been here 5 years, never had any troubles I've never been robbed or anything like that. So I think it's probably very different than what a lot of people think.
Americans love to hear the bad news about Mexico. So you can have 200 people shot in Chicago in a week, and one American gets killed in Mexico, and it's front page headline news. Don't go there, it's dangerous. And here I am, a gringo, driving through Mexico, not speaking the language, driving through, Michoacan and Culiacan and all these places you see on Netflix and the narcos and everything, and felt completely safe.
The general profile of my customers are people who are probably near retirement age. So people in their 50s, mid-50s to maybe early 60s who are thinking of what's the next stage in life for them. Healthcare is certainly a huge factor for people moving to Mexico, especially people in my audience, because they are in their 50s and 60s, right? And they know that with time, they probably will have more ailments, more conditions, right? It just happens naturally in life.
My name is Ernie Baca, and I was born in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I grew up on the southwest Texas border in McAllen, Texas. The U.S. healthcare system failed me in a sense. We had made our decision to move to Mexico. We purchased our house, our dream home there, and I got a lump in my throat. And when I went to the doctor, they ran 20 million tests that had nothing to do with my throat, except for one of them. And that one test happened to be a sonogram, which indicated that I needed to take an MRI. Because of the prices of an MRI in the United States, the insurance companies, they needed pre-approval. 2 weeks of waiting, we need to send more information. 3 weeks ended up a month, and I said, I can't wait. As a matter of fact, I even told the MRI, the doctor, I'll pay for the MRI in the United States, out of my own pocket. Well, we don't have any appointments for another 2 months. Then I'm gonna get it done in Monterrey because I need to find out what I have. Went straight to an ear, nose, and throat specialist, not a general physician. We met him in the morning. I had my MRI done by the afternoon, and the doctor was already looking at my MRI by the evening. And we proceeded with the operation. During the operation, he found 2 lymph nodes that were attached to my carotid artery. But he just decided, you know what, I'm gonna take them out. They did a biopsy, and I tested positive for cancer. He saved my life. I mean, the amazing part about the whole thing was when I did my MRI, this MRI that I was waiting for all this pre-approval, it was $270 compared to several $1,000s in the United States. Private healthcare here in Mexico is better than any kind of medical attention that I've ever received in the United States. This right here is a house that I'm building here in Monterrey, Mexico. We just love Mexico. I sold a house in Texas that we had when I originally retired. So I decided to invest in a home here with the proceeds from my house in Texas. The benefits are that, of course, when you retire with a lot less income. My property taxes are $300 a year. And in Texas, I was paying close to $9,000 a year. So if you take my reduced salary, because of my pension is reduced, I live on basically half of what I was making when I was working, but I still have the same quality of life. Whereas my coworkers that retired at the same age as me, they're still working because they still need to maintain that level of salary to be able to maintain that level of lifestyle. But I think the biggest thing and the most important thing, and I tell everybody, is that it's just that we love it here.
Mexicans are and I say this maybe biasly because I am Mexican, but I think we are a very accepting culture. We really do embrace foreigners with open arms. And as long as people try, we really do appreciate that.
It is a change. It's a cultural change. It's a different way of life. You have to pay the price of it being more relaxed by saying, you know what, the plumber's not gonna show up today, and the plumber may not show up tomorrow, and you may have to wait 2 or 3 days. So we had a hard time. It's not an easy adjustment. But at the same time, my view is the advantages are wonderful. It's awesome culture. It's awesome lifestyle. Actually, we get in reverse culture shock when we go back sometimes. So, you know, we're very excited about spending the rest of our life here. I love my culture that I come from. I will never deny my culture from the United States, but at the same time, I came here to Mexico to experience something different. You know, life is short. It really is. And you have to enjoy those things. It's the experience. It's those things that you're going to be able to take with you when you eventually pass away. It's those experiences. And I think that's what's the most important thing about moving to Mexico, is getting the best out of your experience.